In Central Asia, water flows not just through rivers. It flows through power, through borders, through the very fabric of nations. For decades, the Fergana Valley has stood at a crossroads where geography becomes destiny, where Soviet engineering meets modern sovereignty, and where a single drop of water can spark international tension. Welcome back to Geopolitical Owl, where behind every border lies a blueprint. I'm your guide through the hidden mechanisms that shape our world. This is Episode 3, Rivers of Discord. The Fergana Valley's water crisis begins with a single river system, the Syr Darya. Born from the confluence of the Naran and Darya rivers, this lifeline courses through 4 nations, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan, before emptying into what remains of the Aral Sea. During the Soviet era, Moscow's central planners engineered an intricate system. Massive reservoirs like Kyrgyzstan's Toktagul Dam were built upstream. Downstream, vast irrigation networks transformed deserts into cotton fields. The arrangement was simple. Upstream states released water during summer for agriculture. In return, Moscow supplied them with coal, oil, and gas through heavily subsidized barter schemes. Everyone benefited. Everyone followed the script. Then, in 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. The subsidies vanished overnight. The irrigation schedules remained. And suddenly, 4 independent nations found themselves sharing a resource none could control alone. Upstream, Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan needed hydroelectric power for winter heating. Downstream, Uzbekistan needed water for summer crops. What was once an internal Soviet arrangement became an international powder keg. The tension is structural. Geography dictates that Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan controls the taps. Economic necessity dictates that Uzbekistan needs what flows through them. When Kyrgyzstan releases water in winter to generate electricity, it floods downstream farmland at precisely the wrong time. When it conserves water in summer for reservoir management, Uzbek cotton withers in the heat. The numbers tell the story. Agriculture accounts for over 20% of Uzbekistan's economy and employs millions. Meanwhile, hydropower generates 85% of Kyrgyzstan's electricity and 96% of Tajikistan's. Both sides are hostages to geography. This wasn't mere inconvenience. In April 2021, disputes over the Golovnoy water distribution point escalated into armed conflict between Kyrgyz and Tajik forces. 59 Kyrgyz citizens died. 41 Tajiks perished. Over 136,000 people were evacuated. September 2022 saw another deadly clash. Villages burned, civilians fled. The international community watched nervously as 2 of Central Asia's poorest nations exchanged fire over access to a river. Water, it seemed, was worth dying for. But something remarkable happened. The violence became a catalyst. After decades of deadlock, after centuries of disputed borders drawn carelessly by Soviet cartographers, the leaders of Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan sat down to talk, not just about water, about everything. On March 13, 2025, Presidents Syr Darya and Emomali Rahmon signed a historic border treaty in Bishkek. The entire 1,000-kilometer frontier, previously a third disputed, was finally demarcated. 2 border crossings closed since 2021 reopened. Families separated for years reunited. Direct flights resumed between capitals. Trade, which had collapsed to just $12 million in 2023, is projected to reach $500 million by 2030. 3 weeks later, on March 31st, something even more significant occurred. The presidents of Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan met in Kyrgyzstan to sign an agreement on the tri-point junction of their borders. For the first time since independence, all three Fergana Valley states officially recognized where their territories met. The age of ambiguity was ending. The agreements included provisions for shared water management. A bilateral commission now oversees the Isfara River Basin, historically a flashpoint. Neutral roads allow passage through disputed territories. Infrastructure projects are being coordinated rather than competed over. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called it historic. He wasn't exaggerating. But peace in the Fergana Valley didn't emerge from vacuum. External players shaped the outcome, though none claimed credit. China's Belt and Road Initiative threads through the region. Beijing has invested billions in cross-border infrastructure. Instability disrupts commerce. Stable borders facilitate trade. The calculations were clear. Russia, through the Collective Security Treaty Organization, maintained a careful neutrality. Moscow benefits from regional stability, but avoids appearing as a neo-colonial arbiter. Turkey, meanwhile, has quietly expanded its influence. Cultural ties, economic partnerships, and diplomatic engagement all increased. Ankara sold military drones to Kyrgyzstan during the tensions, but also facilitated dialogue channels. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization provided a multilateral framework where grievances could be aired without losing face. The CSTO offered security guarantees that prevented escalation. International financial institutions dangled development funding contingent on cooperation. The lesson? Regional conflicts rarely resolve without external incentives aligning with local interests. Yet the agreements remain fragile. Implementation challenges loom. Climate change is shrinking the glaciers that feed the Syr Darya. Scientists predict many could vanish by 2050, intensifying the very scarcity that fuels conflict. Population growth increases demand. Aging Soviet-era infrastructure hemorrhages water through inefficiency. Domestic politics matter too. In Kyrgyzstan, nationalist voices criticized territorial concessions. In Tajikistan, President Rahmon's aging grip on power raises succession questions. In Uzbekistan, economic pressures could revive old grievances. The Fergana Valley's future depends on whether cooperation can become institutional rather than personal, whether water-sharing mechanisms can survive leadership changes, whether economic development can provide alternatives to resource competition. The 2025 agreements aren't endpoints, they're starting points. Peace in the Fergana Valley must be built daily, negotiated continuously, and defended vigilantly. Because water, unlike oil, cannot be substituted. It flows or it doesn't. Nations share it or they fight over it. For now, it flows toward peace. The Fergana Valley story reminds us that geography shapes destiny, but diplomacy can reshape geography's consequences. Where rivers divide, agreements can unite. Where history wounds, futures can heal. Thank you for joining Geopolitical Owl on this journey through Central Asia's most contested valley. Remember, behind every border lies a blueprint. Next time, we explore the Fergana Valley's future, from fault line to bridge. Can this region transform from a source of conflict into a model of cooperation? Subscribe, like, and share to find out. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep questioning the maps.